Joining me now, Fox News senior political analyst Brit Hume. Brit, welcome. Good to have you with us tonight. It is stunning to watch how far out John Brennan, as the former CIA director, was willing to go before Mueller's report was finished.
Yeah, and every word he spoke during this whole period carried the sort of the implicit sense that he, as the former CIA chief, somebody was in the know, who had some special knowledge and who should be taken seriously. And boy, was he by certain news outlets. And it turns out he was utterly and completely wrong. From the get-go, he was wrong. He misread the whole situation, and he led thankfully not our news organizations, but many others down a path toward a dead end. And that is where this has ended up. I'm glad to hear him say that he got it wrong, but it's too little too late in his case, in my view.
This is a tweet that he put out today. While the Trump campaign engagements with the Russians were highly inappropriate, we need to accept Special Counsel Mueller's finding that evidence of criminality was not established. And he did, as you say, Britt. He said he's one of the few who was speaking the way he was speaking, who says that he's glad to hear that the investigation cleared the American president of any of this kind of nefarious entanglement.
Yeah, a lot of other media have gone to their new corner to defend themselves now, and the new line seems to be hey, what did you want us to do? Not cover the story? It was a big story, and it was an important story, and we were just reporters covering the story. That's what Jeff Zucker was saying over at CNN. You heard that from Margaret Sullivan in the Washington Post and a number of others. And the trouble with it is that misses the entire point. Yes, there were some of the reporting that was done was bad. There were a number of bad stories. We had CNN got caught out a couple of times. We had the Daily Beast saying Mueller is telling us that he's got Trump on collusion. The list of bad stories is fairly long. But beyond that, it wasn't just that they were covering a story. It was the sheer volume of the coverage, the sheer weight given to it. Every little turn and detail in the story conveyed the unmistakable sense that this was going somewhere and it was going to unearth something very serious about our president and his campaign. That it was bound to turn out that way. You couldn't escape it. It was everywhere. It was all around you. And it wasn't just the news columns. It was the editorial pages. It was the commentators on television and in print. And they were nearly all pointing in the same direction in the mainstream media, and they got it wrong, completely wrong.
Here's Joe Scarborough, who is one of those who was listening to John Brennan, and it strikes me as you're talking, Britt, that he was a person of great authority. He was the former head of the CIA,
right?
And he was telling all of them every single day that with sort of a twinkle in his eye, look, I know what's going on here, folks. So you can come along this ride with me, and you will not be disappointed. Here's Joe Scarborough.
So save your breath, all right? We're not going to divert our eyes. This president lies more than any other president in the United States. We're not going to divert our eyes. Down the torpedoes, full steam ahead, follow the story where it leads us.
Well, I'm all for following the story where it leads you, as long as you're leading it in the right direction. It led, in this case, it led to a dead end. I don't know what he's so proud of and so defiant about. I mean, wasn't his program one of the ones which was leading the charge on this, where John Brennan had an audience many times? I think so. And, when the White House put out that notice yesterday suggesting to producers that you not put some of these people who've gotten it so wrong so often on all the time, I don't think we should take our booking instructions from the White House, but the list that the people that they mentioned there were people who had got it wrong, and over again. And and it might not be a bad idea for journalists who are worried about what happened here to say, well, maybe we shouldn't listen to these people in the future. Maybe we shouldn't have them on so much. Not because the White House says it, but because of the record they composed.
There was a piece in the New York Times today by David Brooks, and he was saying that he felt like people like Beto O'Rourke and John Brennan owe the president a public apology. If you call someone a traitor and it turns out that you lacked evidence for that charge, then the only decent thing to do is apologize. You think he'll be waiting a long time?
Oh, I think, well, the rate this is going, I certainly think so. Although you're beginning to hear from certain seasoned politicians and even some liberal journals, the idea is, come on, folks, this is a dead horse. Stop beating it, particularly to Democratic politicians. Stop beating it. Move on to things that people care more about, because, you know, you got an election coming up and you want to have something to run on beyond an investigation that turned up essentially nothing.